Hi guys, it's been a while since I've posted anything. Actually, the last thing I posted, I must have had my mic blocked because no one could hear a word I said, which I didn't discover for several days. You can tell I don't check my or edit my videos. These are all kind of raw and live as far as when I feel God has been speaking something to me. It's been a rough couple weeks, just been walking through some things, and I'm amazed how we can go through situations and at the time they can feel so rough and just terrible, and can sometimes lead to us really struggling. But when we allow God to give us a higher perspective of what's happening, he can turn it into something beautiful and amazing. And if we allow him to, it's in those situations when we allow him to come and bring healing to our hearts and to comfort us in the midst of that, his grace can come in and he can do a work that we could never do on our own. I know for me, a couple weeks ago, I had something happen just that caused me to feel hurt and used. And out of that, I had become very angry and just hurt by the situation. And, you know, I, I went before the Lord just trying to figure out, God, why am I feeling this way? What is the reason for this? And, there is truth in saying that, you know, people can do wrong things and people can be selfish, and it doesn't excuse their actions, but we have the choice of how we respond to these things. It does hurt. It does cause us to feel angry when people use us. But yet at the same time, when we learn how to respond to those times, when we allow God to teach us a different way of responding, that it can bring peace a lot quicker than it would if we don't respond the right way. And for me, the one thing that God spoke to me is about having expectations on people for filling needs in my life that are not really theirs to fill. Yeah, that it is something that is for my relationship with God to fill those needs, not necessarily for those people to fill it. And, I think as we become closer to the Lord and we learn to trust in Him and to rely on Him and to find our source of life, our source of joy out of our relationship with God rather than our relationship with man, we'll find that life can flow out of that relationship with the Lord into our relationships on earth. As we learn to step in and to be with Him on a daily basis, and even to be aware of His presence as we go throughout our day, we'll find joy in life and it'll overflow out of us into our relationships around us. That there will no longer be a like an expectation of, if you give me love, then I'll give you love. But it'll be, I love you because I have so much love to give. And out of this, it's like, even in our relationship with God, sometimes I think we get to this place of just expecting. We can be just expecting His love, and He wants to give it. But He also wants our hearts. That it's not just help us feel better, make us feel good. It's not go to church and sit on a worship service and feel good and then go home and be good for the rest of the week. It's not like that. It's deeper. It's being aware of Him and everything and allowing Him access to our hearts. So many people, they go throughout their day and it's like, okay, I'm going to get my little bit of God in. I'm going to read my scripture. I'm going to do my devotion. I'm going to go to church on Sunday. I'm going to go to this awesome conference and feel so drunk on His love that it'll last for weeks. And 2 days later, you're back to your miserable self. That's not God's desire. God's desire is to have access to our hearts and to our lives and in every area. And people, I'm preaching in the choir here because this is me. I mean, there are times, I had time earlier today where I was just miserable, and I realized it was because I wasn't just allowing God to have access to those feelings at that moment. And when we take those feelings in those moments where we are feeling miserable and we just allow God to come into the center of them and show us what needs to happen, oftentimes they aren't even our feelings to experience, that we're experiencing them because we need to pray for someone or we just need to disagree with them. But here's my thing that He's been speaking to me the last 2 days, which is He had shown me that even in my times of intimacy with Jesus, it's like I had found it was like weighing to this place of not feeling as real, not the experience. And even in my journaling, it was just like, okay, I just wrote all that, but I just wasn't feeling His presence like I had been before. Like, oh, what's wrong with this? And the Lord reminded me of something I had read about the keys of the kingdom. And one of them is the access of our heart. And that there is a place in our life that is a special place just for Him that He wants access to, but it's our choice to give it. And we have authority to unlock the door to our heart in that area. And I just really began declaring, God, I unlock this area. And I just, activate this key of intimacy with You. And Lord, I unlock. And I was listening to Justin Abraham's one teaching about expanding our hearts, and it was crazy because he was talking about how as we expand our hearts over our lives and also the lives of those that we love, it allows us to have influence in their lives. And he talked about affection. If we hold something in our heart with affection and love, we have the ability to influence that thing. And he was talking government and political. He's often talking about the ecclesia, that it's not for the church, it's for our nations, it's for our world, it's for our government. It's the authority that we can have when we hold in our hearts a love for the people. And, I feel like as we allow God to hold us in His heart and we expand our hearts to be Him in us and us in Him, there is a divine exchange of influence there. So I just want to encourage you with that, that you have the ability to be loved and allow Him to have access, but also ask Him to expand your heart, to love those around you, not with expectation, but just with adoration and love.